Why, hello everybody, welcome to Francis Dunnery Astrology. Before you do anything else, please press that subscribe button. Give it a press, go on, give it a click it, press it, put your eyes on it. Today we're going to be talking about Saturn in Sagittarius. You can usually find your average Sagittarian, even if they're not aware of it, thinking about the meaning of life in some weird way. It's oftentimes, you might, they have a great way of dealing with disappointment, Sagittarians. It's like when, if their house burns down, they'll always say, it's supposed to happen for a reason. It's supposed to happen for a reason. And what that means is, like, if you analyze that, it means that there's something else going on up there that if only we could find out the code, the written code, or, there's this whole plan going on behind our back. And obviously, the Sagittarians, it comes into the realm of the law, and not just the laws in the courtroom, also the laws of life, the philosophical laws. Actually, every law, ranging from, what your mum and dad tell you when you're a kid, all the way up until the court of law, all the way up to heaven and hell and all those sort of things like that. So it comes under that kind of the philosophies that's running your life, the laws, like just really the laws, I guess. But when you put Saturn in there, all bets are off at that point, because there becomes a severe lack of meaning in life. It becomes a search for the meaning of life. And the general search, often, you could find somebody with Saturn in Sagittarius or Saturn in the ninth house visiting different religions, like something like a butterfly would land in different backyards. You'll find, you might find somebody with Saturn in Sagittarius dipping into various religions only to be let down. The religions always let them down. Whatever, they tend to find holes in it. They tend to pick holes in it, or it becomes clear that, like, the guru they were following ends up being like, a sex maniac, and just, is not interested in that at all. He just wants to, get more girlfriends, or, that he can get. Or you find out like, the high priestess is actually a con artist who's, diddling money out of old people. There's something that, like, lets them down, and so they move on to another. They keep trying to put their faith into life somewhere, and it just keeps getting shown up like that. There's another way that Saturn in Sagittarius shows up. It could be somebody who's born into an incredibly strict religious family. It could be like Hasidic Jews, or like devout Catholics, or Muslims, like just this harsh, and God becomes that Old Testament God, thou shalt not, and thou shalt, and they kind of live their life based upon those sort of values, and being afraid of God, like God the Punisher, they end up with God the Punisher, and so or it could be somebody who's in a court of law, somebody who ends up being a lawyer. There's a lot of lawyers with Saturn in the ninth house who end up being a slave to it, really. Like they, they're a slave to the law, like they would be a slave to God. They'd be frightened of the law. Somebody who gets in trouble with the law. It's what happens when you put Saturn there. It just has the reverse effect of the meaning of life. And one of the best stories that I know about the upside of the Sagittarian life is that it was an old Jewish psychologist called Viktor Frankl, and he was in the death camps, and he said that he was watching the people who lived and died, and he said he wanted to find out the difference between the people who lived and the people who died, because it wasn't food. People were eating and still dying, and people weren't eating and staying alive, and he wondered what it was. And he came to the conclusion that it was meaning. The people who had meaning attached to their experience lived, and those that didn't died. And it could be anything, like God's putting me through a test. God is always involved in the meaning of life somewhere. And he noticed that some of them kept a cigarette in their top pocket for tomorrow. Just that was enough to get them through the night, that they were going to have another day. They put their faith in something, beyond whatever situation they were in. And faith really is putting your faith, if you wish for better weather tomorrow, that's putting your faith in something outside of your own power. And so people don't understand. We all have a religious urge. Even the atheists, they say they're not religious, or the communists, or we're not religious. But we can't get rid of it. We're all religious. We all have a way of projecting meaning onto life, and that's the key to the Sagittarius. with Saturn in Sagittarius, because once they realize that the world doesn't mean anything, that we make the world mean something, this conversation we're having now could be a rubbish conversation or could be the best conversation you've ever heard. But in actual fact, it means nothing other than what you bring to it. And so Joseph Campbell said, there is no meaning to life. We bring the meaning to it. You know, things matter, but they don't mean anything. Let's put it that way. And so the meaning of life, once the Sagittarian finds out that they can have the world be anything they want, it's a great, powerful tool to know that you project the meaning onto life, because no matter what comes at you from the outside, you have the ability to shape it in whichever way you want. There is no is world out there. The world is like this, or it means that, or it means this. It means then you can't be insulted, because if you don't want to make a meaning to it of being an insult, then nobody can insult you. And this is the key to Saturn in Sagittarius. It's important that you understand that there is no meaning to life. We bring the meaning to it. We project the meaning onto life, and then we experience it back. And you're in charge of that meaning. And so you therefore become free. You don't become at the mercy of this harsh God or this, you project the meaning onto life. And if you want God to be a loving God, then you project that meaning onto life. And if you want God to be nature, then that's what it is, and God's talking to you. It doesn't matter what it is at that point, because you control the situation. And that's the meaning that the Saturn in Sagittarian person is looking for all the time, or Saturn in the 9th house. The ability to create and shape their own, how the world occurs for them. How the world's occurring for them, so they don't get stuck with some reality. It's I will dictate how the world's occurring for me, and so that becomes an incredible PowerPoint for all the people with Saturn in Sagittarius, to understand that there is no meaning to life, that we project the meaning onto life. And it's up to us what the world means. That's an incredible amount of power, and it's freedom for the person with Saturn in Sagittarius who's been basically dying underneath this Old Testament God and all these different religions that let them down. And that's our little conversation for today. Please press the subscribe button if you haven't already pressed it, and I will see you tomorrow with some more Saturn advice. All right, guys, thank you very much. Have a good one.